Good evening, it's 8 p.m. on the 25th of August 2024. You're very welcome back. You won't believe this. This is in the news for a while now. There's that much idiocracy in the Irish government that you just can't keep up with it. This is a report on the Irish, well, it says here Irish Independent, although I saw this earlier now, I have to say, but it says up here 25th of August 2024, so I think it was on other sources. The just Independent has it. Anyway, we'll go with the Independent, and it says generators to combat power shortages are stuck at Dublin Port as they are too heavy for the M50. So 11 machines were imported by a German maker last summer. Stock image. I don't know what that means. That might be just, that's under a picture. Mightn't be right. More than 10 million euros worth of generator engines made to tackle the state's electricity supply shortage have been stranded in Dublin Port for over a year. That's why, as I say, it was known before that. Because they are too heavy to transport on the M50 toll bridge. Now, most people will know this, but for people out of the country and maybe people not familiar with Ireland, Dublin has a C-shaped toll road, a big motorway called the M50. State of the art, it must be said. I'd say it's 3 lanes in most places, even though in some places it's 6 lanes, but we're doing very good. In any event, it goes in a C from north to south, and then all the westward roads and the southern and northern roads branch off it. Typical. Now, anyway, what happened here is they bought these engines. Now remember that all this renewable energy was meant to cut reliance on fossil fuel. The machines were shipped to Ireland last summer by German manufacturer MAN Energy Solutions. Now, I'd say every one of you have seen MAN somewhere. You'll see it on lorries, trucks, but you'll see it particularly on small engines and particularly small diesel engines. Really good quality small diesel engines. Oh, they're a lovely bit of kit altogether. Energy Solutions, to be brought to 2 industrial estates in Dublin. So these were to be brought to 2 industrial estates. Now bear in mind that the object of the Green Party, the Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Sinn Féin and them all, is to close down the whole lot. In fact, Breed Smith, the TD in Dublin, said, this is all the transition. They're going to transition to 100% renewable energy and net zero. However, after the 11 engines arrived in Dublin Port, 11 of them, these would be massive engines. These would be massive. It was discovered they were too heavy to transport across the M50, weighing in at 275% more than the design load of the Westlink toll bridge. Now, in Dublin, there's the River Liffey, and there's typical in Ireland, you get a sort of a bank up both sides of a river. You get a kind of a glen where the river flows through, and then the land is higher. And so as this sea road comes down, folks, it reaches a place where it would really have to go down and up. And instead of that, they span the whole river with a big bridge. It's a popular place for suicides, and they have special iron things to stop people jumping off it, actually. But it's a very good bridge, really good, put in with a big expense. Does the job. All trucks loaded down, no problem. All trucks can go it, and it can carry several trucks at a time. It has a design weight, and that's it. But there's law in Ireland, and it's in every country, where you have an unusual load or a load over a certain axle weight, you have to get permission from the roads authority or the council or whoever owns the road. Common sense, you just can't do what you like. Now just remember, these engines were in Germany. The German government under Green Party leader Eamon Cabbagehead Ryan would have got a spec. They'd have got a piece of paper a piece of paper like this, and on it would be the weight of the engines in kilos, so many kilos. The next thing was, where are you bringing it into? Are you bringing it into the north side of Dublin? Presumably, it's not possible to load these things in the North Quays in Dublin. If they were loaded at the North Quays, they could presumably be brought to the centres for on the north side of the River Liffey. But they brought them in at the south side, and presumably that's a bigger dock or whatever. I should drop them down there and run them over the M50. They hadn't the brains, the gombeans of civil service, Eamon Cabbagehead Ryan, the Greens, or any of them. They hadn't the simple brains to ask, how do we get them up? They bought them without ever checking the weight versus the maximum weight that the bridges can carry. The bridge is perfectly all right. It's not an old bridge, it's a new bridge. Does the job, great job. No complaints with it at all. None. The only thing, in very high winds, sometimes large lorries might have to be stopped going over just in case to be blown with the wind. But all told, there are no complaints about the bridge. So they're 2.75% more, 2.75 times TIMES, more than the permitted weight. When they rang up and said, what weight is your engines? They're such a thing. What's the axle weight of your lorry? What's the total weight of lorry and engine? So much. It was 2.5 times too much. And they had 11 of them landed at a cost of what they said 10 million of our money. Now, folks, does it not become obvious to you that what I've been saying about all of this has been right all along? These are shameful people. These are the greatest ignoramuses. Not only they shut down certain power stations, and now they're bringing in 11 big diesel engines, because when the wind dies down, they have no power. Need I say more? They have stayed in storage as engineers and local authorities try to work out how to bring them to their destination. Well, I'm not going to give them any advice on that. It could be very, very difficult to do that. I could suggest ways, but I'm not going to tell them. So the engines were imported at a time of growing concern over the national grid. Why? Because the Green Party and the Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael lovers, all in bed, and Sinn Féin all thought that once we stick a windmill up, that's it, you can shut down the power stations. What a load of ignoramuses. So, National Grid and its ability to provide enough power at peak times in the winter. So here you have data centres and wind farms and solar farms, all requiring electricity, and they're getting it from diesel engines. Now, I have already made a video that Shannon Bridge Power Station, I happened to find out this by some surveillance, that they're burning in that power station 56 articulated lorry loads of diesel every 3 days. Now, if we take Shannon Bridge, somebody else posted on my video that there's another one in Ballina in Mayo doing the very same. And if we take it, there must be one or two in Dublin at this stage. There are almost certainly 3 of these power stations at the moment. And if they need 56 lorry loads of truckloads of diesel for 3 days, then that's 56 for one for the total. So imagine how long a convoy of 56 articulated trucks would be. You see them on the road, they're delivering fuel. Just imagine that. And that's diesel we need. And this is supposed to be green. This is supposed to be green. And here now they had another 11 of them. Now these engines, I just don't know the spec. I presume the piston in one of them be that size. They're probably a V8 engine or maybe a V16. I'd say a litre of fuel, when they'd be going at proper capacity, I'd say a litre of fuel would be burnt in, I'd say 6 to 7, well, maybe It might go a minute. Say a litre might do it. I'd say about 30 seconds to a minute. That's what they're doing. And these 11 engines would have been put to use, but they can't get them across the river. Is it any wonder that Gombeen, Eamon Cabbagehead Ryan, he's pulling out now, he's not going for election again. And these crowd, any of them left, need to be campaigned negatively. People need to go out and tell people about this. In June last year, M50 Concessions Limited, that's the name of the M50 company, I presume. We take no issues with it, which runs the motorway, said it had serious concerns at the use of the load for transporting at the use of the road, at the use of the ROAD of the road for transporting the enormous, abnormal, indivisible load. That means you can't divide them up. Indivisible. So yes, they could shut down the whole motorway. They could bring them across one at a time. It's still too heavy. These are made of good, heavy cast steel. The amount of fossil fuel it takes to make these engines is ginormous. They probably run in ships as well, although the ships are a two-stroke job. I've seen a few photographs and I think they are the standard, maybe V12 diesel engine. I think they are. I think that's what they are, right? They said they were worried over how 7 bridges along the M50 would cope, and especially the Westlink Bridge, which crosses the Liffey. Yes, the Westlink Bridge, now I'll show you a photograph of it here. They're right in that. Even one load on one side. See, those bridges have a design specification, and there's a toll on the bridge, so you have to. I went it on the van yesterday. It's €4.50. It's €9 return. Anyway, that's another issue. I'll just show you a picture of it here, folks, on the computer. And you'll get the article there now. This is on several websites. So a few days later, TII Transport, I don't know what it is, responded to say it shared those concerns. So TII must be, I don't know, told, is it? Oh yes. Now, a letter to Transport Infrastructure Ireland, TII, said, at this stage, we reasonably believe that the proposed movement of the abnormal indivisible loads would cause damage to the M50. And that would be a serious blow to the economy of Ireland and Dublin. That would be a serious blow. The risk of that, if you'd close that motorway, you'd have health problems, be worse than any. You'd have health problems and unbelievable. Now, anyway, so a few days later, the TII responded to say it shared those concerns about the proposal, which would have been 13 separate trips, which would have seen 13 separate trip carrying loads of 426 to 496 tonnes across the Liffey Valley Bridge. So each individual one, of course, a chain is only as good as its weakest link. Each individual one is just, I'll give you the weight again, folks, 426 to 496. So some of them could be 496. In other words, 500 tonnes. These people should be jailed. They should be in jail. I have went to court wanting them to do the proper strategic environmental assessment under the Strategic Environment Assessment Directive 2001/42/EC, in which all of this would be pointed out, where the toll roads and all would set in what their spec is. This is how you do these jobs. This is how all good companies do it. This was all left to a wing and a prayer, with madhead Eamon Cabbagehead Ryan running the show. This is a disgusting thing with our money. So, 500 tonnes across the Liffey Bridge. The engines were destined for Grange Castle and Profile Park industrial estates in Dublin. They were not power stations before, and would have provided more than 200 megawatts of backup electricity. So 200 megawatts. I'll not go into that now with you. 200, that's about the size of a small power station. And it's a wonder they didn't say that power 50 million homes. When they talk about solar panels or wind farms, it's enough to power 60 million homes. Oh, 60. Oh no, a wee bit more. 70 million homes. This is what these blackguards with their representatives in the media, and the Irish Independent could have published articles for me that would have stopped this. Any proper medium would have noticed this and would have looked into this. No, oh no, it'll power half the country, and we have the highest electricity prices in the world. What a crowd. Now, I might be able to work out for you in another video, and I might publish it underneath, what the size of these engines are. 200 megawatts. A megawatt is roughly 100 articulated lorry engines. It's a megawatt. So, and we not go down there, there's no need. They are a mighty bit of plant, but unbelievable hard on fuel. The letter said, the Westlink Bridge, folks, it's known as the Westlink Bridge. I just didn't think of it there. That's the C and the Liffey Bridge. The Westlink Bridge structures would never have been envisaged as being required to carry an abnormal load of 496 tonnes, which is 275% greater than the 180 tonne design load. So the load they're designed for is 180 tonnes. And this load is, well, it's all for all intents and purposes, when you count the driver and all, 500 tonnes. And it's designed for 180 tonne. Perfectly adequate, because if you, most articulated lorries we'd say would be at the best 50 tonne. So that there would carry 1, 2, 3, you carry 1, 2, 3, carry 4 of them, and cars and that. That's right. No issue there. It's grand. 2 evaluations by engineers suggested the use of now an engineer. The first time the government engaged an engineer, and when these windmills and all has been built, I first come up to the EIA directive. They try to give big consulting, big consultants limited. I said, who are they? Name them and give their qualifications. See the way I think. 2 evaluations by engineers suggest that the use of the M50 would be safe if certain conditions were met. These include a full escort for the abnormal loads. A full escort. Well, I'd keep the escorts away. If it was me, I'd just run the one load and put nothing else on it. Speeds of no more than 15 kilometres per hour. Well, that's no problem. Travelling along the centre of the road. I think there's a traffic island. I think there is, I'm not sure. So they'd have to lift out the centre of the road. And no other vehicles on the Westlink Bridge during crossing. Well, I presume if all went all, there'd be a special announcement. Motorists would be told to go to hell, because in any event, the Greens and the government we have hates motorists anyway. So it looks to me like they'd have to do that. It'd have to be done maybe on a Sunday morning or something. I don't know. I'm not telling them, but I still think, how are they going to travel on the centre of the road if is there a divide between the two? I'm not sure. Lift up all that as well, right? Now, so. And no other vehicles on the road. So, however, TII and the motorway operators were unconvinced, and permission was not granted for the M50 for the transfer. The engines were destined for Grange Castle and Profile Park industrial estates in Dublin, and would have provided more than 200 megawatts electricity. Man Energy Solutions had planned to import 16 of the dual fuel engines, with another reserve power plant proposed for Roscommon near Athlone. More diesel. A spokesman said an alternative transport route is under review with the local authorities. Now, that's a year now, that says. Now, aren't they some idiots? Aren't they some jackasses to bring in all this without even considering how they get them round. And that's what the public participation section of the SEA and the EIA directive is. That's it. It brings in the public. So when they'd put in that in maybe in an amendment to the SEA, somebody, even the roads people, could say, "Hold on, we can't get them in." That would be discovered before they brought them in. This is the disgusting disgrace of our government breaking the EIA directive, SEA directive. And even in my case, Judge Max Barrett said the Bord Pleanála breaking it had no substantial decision to make in the case of an EU regulation on the North-South Interconnector. So the courts are not helping. Right, folks, do you see now what's happening? Comment underneath. What a crowd of idiots. Bye. We'll see you back for something else. You'll get it there. It's on the internet, and there's several other articles on it. Goodbye.